Hello, everybody. I'm Shane.
And I'm Phil.
And we're from FreeThink.
FreeThink. Before we get plunged into today's episode, we just want to take the time to tell all of you about the coolest thing, I'd say ever, actually. It's called Anchor. It's on our phones.
It is the easiest way to make a podcast, and it's the best tool for anyone looking to start a podcast of their own. Phil, take it away.
Well, let us explain. It's free.
It costs you nothing.
No money whatsoever.
No money whatsoever. It's free. All it just takes is a little bit of your personal time, and it works at your leisure. 2, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast straight from your phone or computer.
Right. And Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so you don't have to do any heavy lifting or any work. It's very, very easy to do, and automatically uploads onto you for Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and much more platforms.
And it also leaves URL links in your profile so that you can distribute and share your episodes on your own. Whether it be to your friends around the world, even on any social media pages that you want to distribute it yourself. Also, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Let me repeat that. No minimum listenership. There is no set amount that you have to hit before you start getting paid.
Isn't that awesome?
It's the best platform to start getting paid just to talk. And also, everything you need is right here, all in one place for your podcast, whether that be your app or that be on computer.
So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app right now. It's on Google or Apple. And make sure you can either do that or you can go to anchor.fm, as in Frank Mary. Anchor.fm. And thank you guys so much. Now enjoy our show, and let's get to our episode today.
Hey everybody, welcome to FreeThink. My name is Shane. I'm your host. I will be joined by you, the audience, and of course, a guy named Phil. Phil, how are you?
Doing good, man. How's it going today?
Oh, man. Touchy topic today.
Very touchy.
So let's just go ahead and dive into it right now. So we're going to talk about education, right, Phil?
Oh, yeah. That's going to be a huge topic. Now, I think we're going to actually change the spectrum on this whole type of thing. When you think about education, that's actually going to be a lot more spicier of a conversation than normal. We're basically going to be talking about the crazy cost of universities today. It's insane.
And you can comment on it because you actually went to university.
I did actually.
And it cost you money.
Well, I was actually one of the very fortunate people, believe it or not.
It still costs money.
It costs money. I was one of the lucky individuals that understood about, I had a state university grant. I'm actually very blessed in a lot of ways, and I found a way where I basically graduated with zero debt. I'm one of the very few. However, a lot of my friends weren't so lucky. A lot of people I even went to college with, they didn't know about it. They don't really make it easy. And I'm not suggesting that it should be 100% free. I'm not saying that at all. What I do believe, though, it should be affordable. And I see a lot of the corruption that's inside the university systems. I talk to a lot of people who are still paying off, $80,000 worth of debt or more.
College and university, guys. It makes you poor.
It does, and it shouldn't be that way. It should actually help you right afterwards. So at least if you're going to be in some debt, you're able to easily be able to afford it. And there's no accountability to these schools. That's my biggest problem. Like they have all these administrators, all these people, and now we see what's happening all the time. We have a lot of students, and then some of them are in computer science and some other type of nice degree, but they're out here unable to find a job.
Dude, a quarter of college graduates can't get work. A quarter. Think about that for a second. Your graduating class.
I'd probably say the numbers are even higher than that.
I would believe it, and I'm only using what I knew off the top of my head for the past 3 years.
Yes.
It was 3 years ago. It was a quarter. So first, I just want to dive into the cost of university education because I think it's extremely it's just fucking ridiculous.
Well,
let's give you an understanding.
Back in 1985, we have some numbers from ISE, National Center for Education Statistics. Used to be about like 10 grand in some cases to go to, for an average cost from 1985 to 1986. About $12,000 actually, a little over that for 4 years, and that was $10,000 was the average. or 1,100, and then about like 7,508. So about 7,500 for 2 years. That was the cost back in the day. Now today, obviously, it's much higher. As far as that, we're looking at high cost for students.
And remember, guys, tuition does not necessarily include the fees. The fees are tacked on to the end of it, but you have a tuition rate, and then you got fees added on top of that. That's kind of important for you guys to understand. So for a 2-year institution, so that would be, let's say, for example, your academic associates. And for those of you who don't know what the first A and AA degree means, it means academic, okay? Your academic associates. Okay, for a 2-year institution, right? So you're going only for 2 years to get your AA.
Now we're going to talk about 2019 to 2020.
Yes, this is recent stuff. Okay, $12,720, right? That it cost you. Now, where do you get those numbers from? Well, they're split between $3,730 in tuition and fees. Remember, guys, tuition is a set amount, and the fees are tacked on top of that. But they don't like to tell you that. Mm-hmm. They do not like to tell you that, and then the other, I spent $8,990 room and board.
This is, by the way, an average year. Just so you know, when you're saying that $12,000 for a 2 year, that's average for a year. Mm-hmm. So you can just get your associates.
It's double, by the way.
It's about like $24,000.
It's over $24,000.
Right, and that's like the average with if you include room and board, that'll be like $30,000 for your associates. And associates nowadays, I think it's kind of gotten down where it's kind of more and more people are going to school. So like a high school diploma is sort of not what it was. Now it's associates. That's kind of like a high school diploma in a lot of ways. Your bachelor's like associates.
It's over 25. It's almost 25 and a half.
So think about this.
That you're spending $25,500 about. I think it's about $25,440 altogether. That's for both of them. So remember, guys, when I give you the first number, that's the first year you're paying. So just keep that in mind. It's the first year you're paying. So always double that.
Now,
right? So always increase it by the year that you're spending.
Now, if we move on to the 4-year university,
$21,000.
A lot of money right there.
$900
per year.
$50 fucking dollars.
What's 20 times 4? What's 2 times 4? By the way, that's a lot. So about $80,000. Pretty
fucking ridiculous.
And so it'll be about.
You're looking at over 90, dude.
This is just the average. I mean, that's for a 4-year in-state. That's if you actually find the schools that you liked. So for in-state tuition, here's the numbers from education.data.org. That's where you can find this out if you're looking to find out what it is for this year. So if you're going to school, finally going to school, keep in mind that
you're looking at around 88 to 90 grand. That's what you're looking at, basically.
That's
88
crazy.
to 90 grand.
So you have $80,000 in debt, $90,000 in debt.
Yeah, that's fucking ridiculous.
And
tuition fees, right? This is where it makes no fucking sense.
That's a house
because you're going from you're going to $10,440 in tuitions and fees, right? And then you're going to $11,510 for room and board.
That's a lot of fucking money.
That is a lot of fucking money. That's fucking bullshit.
And even if you...
By the way, that's if you are a student from the local state that you're going to school for. It's fucking worse if you're going from if you're a student that wants to apply who got into a school from a different state. So just to give you an example, say for example you're from California, right?
Right.
But you got into Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what, motherfucker? You're gonna pay more.
That's one of the reasons why I actually stuck around California for such a long time.
Yeah, dude, it doesn't benefit you.
I knew if I was going to go to school, if I wanted to get my education paid for, the worst thing to do, go out of state, because at least I had some sort of benefit. And California actually does have a lot of programs. I can't say that about them that is available, but not everybody has those type of programs available. The school system
understand too. This is just the monetary side.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even counting with the academic requirements needed too, because they'll make that go up too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So if you're coming in out of state, you're looking at $38,330.
Now we're talking about the public schools. Now, if you do private, now you're looking
at some fucking money,
$50,000 per year.
Yeah. So if you're out of state, right, and you're going to a 4-year university, So, say for example, like, let me use the example of California going to Michigan State, right? You're looking at $26,820 in tuition and fees, and again, $11,510 in room and board. But like Phil just mentioned, if you're going to a nonprofit, okay, and some of these schools are not accredited as the same, so some of the credits aren't even transferable. But just for example, let's say USC is one of them. Fucking Stanford, another one. The private institutions, the ones that get gleamed in the limelight, like the epitome of education, right?
Right.
The average total price, right? So the average prices, right, is $49,879 for private nonprofit four-year institutions. You're looking at 36. It basically jumped. So think of it this way, guys. It jumped up $10,060 in tuition and fees from then going out of state, which make no sense, by the way, which is bullshit. And it also jumps up to $12,990 for room and board. So to give you an example, right? The average total price for a four-year degree is approximately what? 122, something like that?
Yeah, that's what it says right over here. It's 122,000.
Okay.
So we're basically giving you these numbers, running it down over here.
So to give you the total, right? To give you the total for each individual one. Say you're trying to get your AA, right? You want to know the mass total for you to be in state, by the way, in state. So you're looking at $50,800, almost $51,000, basically.
Pretty much.
For 2 years. And then if you're in state, you're going to school in state for university. You're trying to do a 4-year degree. You're looking at around almost $88,000, which is what I said previously.
A lot of money.
That's a lot of fucking money. If you're out of state, coming into new state,
don't go out of state,
and you're trying to do a fucking 4-year degree, guess fucking what? You're looking at almost 153 grand, bro.
Mm-hmm.
A little over that.
Everybody out there, make sure you take advantage of your resources. It's important, go to
get those grants.
Get those grants over there. I always screw up on this freaking pronunciation. I think it's FAFSA. FAFSA. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's really important. Now that only goes up to your bachelor program. After that, now it's a little harder when you're trying to get higher education. It's going to be a lot more harder to find grant money. Loans always last resort, of course. Good thing let me tell you a couple of things. Good thing about I thought about taking out loans when I was in college. Just so you guys know out there. Good thing about loans is it's a super low interest rate, so that is a positive right there. However, unlike everything else, and this is kind of like the funniest thing in the world, you can go bankrupt on your car, on your house, on your property. You can't default on school loans. I think that's kind of outrageous a lot of times because of the fact that how come that's the case? How come we don't have some accountability? If a person can't find a job and a lot of times what I think what's happening is these universities don't care. I think that kind of goes to our next topic. I know what do you say? Basically, we're going to go over here and basically our next topic was how school has become a money funnel for school administrators.
You have to understand that schools, university schools, I'm not talking about the high schools and below. I'm not talking about that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about universities, okay? UCLAs, right? They're not just a school. They're a fucking business.
They're a huge business.
They make money. They make money by keeping you in school.
They're a smart business. Okay? On their. I mean, you want to pat them on the back and then you want to uppercut them at the same time because
they basically what they want to do, right? What they want to do is their name for their school holds weight, but they want you to get on your knees, right? Suck their dick, right? and then ride them all the way till your 4-year degree, and then they're gonna try to convince you to try to take all these multiple plans. So it makes me wonder: do all these universities, these university schools, right? Mm-hmm. They have all these new subjects, new studies, and new different things that you can do to get your educational degrees, right? And different majors, right? Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is? Why don't they have a set curriculum? Why did they expand their scope of study that you can take? Why do you think? Because they want to make money off of you. And if they have something that you think that they could teach you, that you could get a degree in, they're going to fucking make it. They're going to find a way to make a curriculum like that so that you spend money.
Well, that's part of the problem. We have a lot of jobs that are not focused on. I'm sorry.
A lot of degrees that don't get you money.
Aren't focused. We have a lot of funny ass shit. I mean, we looked up some of them. We'll get into that later on, but let's go.
But how it applies to this, though? How it applies to this, right?
Right.
They advertise the fact that they have a major for everyone.
There is a major for everybody,
and they advertise it, and that's something that they draw people in. And when they draw people in based on the by advertising the different scopes of things you can learn, guess what? You make fucking
and some
money.
of these freaking things that we saw or that we know about, it's ridiculous. It's
massively fucking ridiculous.
It's massively dumb. But what it all comes down to is like this topic. It's a money funnel for these administrators.
They're the ones thriving off of you.
Average. Here's from higheredjobs.com. Now, tell me exactly why. Well, this is metaphorically because you audience can't. But tell yourself, why the heck do chief executive officers,
CEOs, by the way,
CEOs, they make $425,000? That's double $250,000. I mean, almost $500,000 basically. We're having school administrators actually happen, and we've actually had. On some sites, some even get paid a lot more than that. We're talking about,
We're not even talking about private university, by the way. We're talking about public ones.
Public ones, yeah, making a national average of $425,000. That's ridiculous.
What kind of bullshit is that, bro?
Chief, and if they have basically their degrees correctly, if they have a master's, they're even making more, $550,000.
So when they're starting out with AA degrees, right? CEOs, the CEOs from system that he's talking about, they're almost making $300,000 to start off, and that's with an AA, with an AA degree. And then when they hit their masters, they're making over.
And if they happen to be doing
$500,000,
a research type of firm, they're making around
almost $700,000.
That's ridiculous amount of money. Now look at so that's a CEO over a system. If you're doing I guess if you're doing multiple different types of schools. If you're doing just one system, that's still $300,000. An average pay, executive vice president,
325 racks. Think about that. 325 racks.
170,000, 199,000. It's grotesque.
Dude, all of these, by the way, all of these are six figures.
Now we're looking at pretty much everybody in six figures. Which
this is C corporate level management, by the way.
I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to this if the schools were doing well and if people were finding jobs, but we know what's happening.
Yeah, 100%.
Not happening. $200,000 for
I said, dude.
Look at this dean right here. A dean makes freaking $200,000 over agriculture. We have another dean making $236,000.
Look
average.
Look at arts and sciences and compare that to biological and life sciences. Look at that.
So we have a huge discrepancy. How does art and sciences have 160 and biological and life sciences have 144? It doesn't make any sense. Business is even down.
My whole thing with this, right? Like you mentioned before, these motherfuckers are making so much fucking money. They're making over six figures easy, right?
Fucking ridiculous.
And yet
we should be mad about that. We should be irritated.
Why do you think I'm fucking mad right now? Why do you think I'm acting like this way? Because I'm fucking pissed about this. These motherfuckers here, right?
Social worker, $228,000.
They're making so much fucking. Oh, by the way, you know how hard it is to get into the social work field now, because like everybody and their fucking mom is doing that fucking job.
Very hard.
So this is fucking ridiculous. And even the associate deans make fucking six figures, dude. They're not doing their jobs into properly educating you to prepare you for the workforce. Because here's the fact of the matter is, okay? No one's going to carry you. No one's going to carry you.
Now, look at we always talk about teacher salaries and this and that. Now, if you compare that to what the deans are making, and basically their responsibility is management and stuff, which is a huge thing. I'm not saying they don't do a lot of work. They do.
Some of them more than others.
I'm not going to say everybody's bad, and I'm not saying none of them worked out hard. And
but as a collective, they're bad.
But what I'm trying to say is,
as a collective, they're bad.
When you think about how much money they make in comparison to the executive assistants, so like their executive assistants, secretary to board, they're making significantly less. Around like $80,000.
From the lowest amount I see here is about $45,000.
Right, and a librarian,
and a fucking librarian, bro, makes over $66,000. Like, what the fuck?
The librarian's not making that much money, you know. So
the lowest amount that I've seen in this general scope is around 45, 40, maybe 43 to 45. You know what I mean? It's still a lot, but well, I mean, it's not a lot here in California, mind you, because everything's everything's overpriced. But if you're in another place where the cost of living are low, then that's a lot of money. You know what I mean?
It is a lot of money. It's an awful lot of money right there.
And you got to remember that you guys are this is just individual salary. Some of these people are actually married too, so then they bolster that salary to make it bigger. You know what I mean? But that's still a fucking shame, though.
So average professor. Now I guess I don't have a problem with it. Professors should be making a decent amount of money. Went to school.
It depends on the scope, though, because my whole thing is just like, all right. So for example, let's look at architecture, right? Let's look at architectural
professor. Correct.
Yeah, an architectural professor. They're making six figures, which is understandable because well, even though it's really hard to make money as an architect, right?
It is very difficult.
Yeah,
very
most people are trying to circumvent the paying an architect by using designers. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's really hard to make money as an architect, and everybody thinks that architects automatically start off making six figures. No, that is not true. Actually, they start off with a really, really small wage, and then they build it up over time. The only thing is that they have a small small wage, but they have an incredibly exceeding amount earning potential, and so you have to take that into account, right? So an architectural professor is making around what, $114,000?
Yes, exactly.
Okay? And if they're doing the architectural research, they're making $114,000 also. So it evens itself out. Okay, an associate professor is making around $88,000, both in research and just standard across the board, right? And a new assistant professor is still making pretty decent wage at $72,000 across the board, right? But then you look at like area, ethnic, cultural, gender, and group studies.
What the fuck's that?
Which to me is just like I would consider that what, social studies, right?
I don't even know what it is anymore. They
took all these fields. They took all these fields of scope and they averaged. I think they took the average of their salaries.
Why the hell do we need?
Well, here's the thing, right? I think social studies are somewhat important. However, I don't think.
How can you get a job from this unless you're like a history teacher or something?
Or you work at the university itself.
Yeah, you really can't like
you can't get a job out of this.
I mean, I think it's important to understand. History in general.
Cultural studies would work. Cultural studies would work if you're an archaeologist.
That's true. If you're an archaeologist.
So, but. That's passe, though.
If you're a math major, engineer,
like paleontology, like everybody thinks that paleontology makes a ton of fucking money. No, they fucking don't. And there's some that have a paleontology degree. They can only do it outside to be paleo monitors, right? When a paleo monitor is someone who's licensed to oversee a dig, an excavation. You didn't realize you guys were gonna learn shit, huh? But
digging a hole.
But basically, what they do is they excavate the ground and they search for bones and stuff, and they have to go to university in order to be able to do that, and then of course apply for licensure to be able to be a paleo monitor, right?
There's a lot.
The thing is, that's an incredibly hard degree. Okay, They don't make shit. They make money per dig, but how many people are digging for fossils? You see the problem?
Not that many.
It's passe, just like cultural studies and anthropology is. Nobody gives a fuck, realistically.
Average professor, it looks like at least makes it around $91,000 at a university, which is, I guess, reasonable. Engineering makes a lot more, about $140,000. We saw some stuff earlier today when we were doing our research today. It would look really kind of funny. Some of these things, like liberal arts, for example, and sciences, humanities. But we saw some really, weird. What was that one? Something about lesbian studies and stuff like that. We saw earlier today. I wish we could find it really quickly. Let me see if I can find that really quickly up here. But as far as that, let me see if it's up over here somewhere.
By the way, notice how they separated cultural studies with history.
They did.
The fuck? Logic?
Logic over here.
I think what they did was they tossed that all into group studies, gender studies, and all that shit. They tossed it into that. You know what I mean? It's fucking weird, man. It doesn't make any sense to me. And as much as I like to give the benefit of the doubt, some teachers don't deserve the jobs that they have.
They don't. They don't at all.
By the way, these professors that they're getting paid by the university. They're not getting paid by you. So I don't know if you guys know that. They're getting paid by the university. They could give a fuck about you. They couldn't even care about you. You know what I mean? They really don't care. Oh, and they separated social studies away from cultural studies too. Like, what the fuck?
Now, if you go take all that data and stuff, you look at the staff salaries, and of course, you're going to see a huge gap. Mm-hmm. You're going to see now they're making like around $30,000 to $40,000 on average, is what it looks like.
This is pretty like low end pay.
So like all the
this is low end pay.
Recruiters, executive assistants, all the people that do all the clerical. But I mean,
you're talking about clerks, basically receptionists
and stuff. So
okay,
but here's the whole point right here. The whole point is that it has become a money funnel for basically just about everything. They're all the top people, all administrators. They're taking all this money. They have no accountability. So students go to school. They can't find a job. University's not there to help you. All they care about is paying off these loans.
You have to understand, universities are a place to bolster new ideas.
That's correct, yes.
They're supposed to make you think freely. But in doing so, nobody tells you that, hey, yeah, this is not going to help you make money. So then you have to learn the fucking hard way because schools pamper you. Because what school... So to give you a perfect picture, right? What's the real world like?
Real world is fucked up.
It's fucked up, right?
A lot of bullshit you have to do.
And you know what school feels like? Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ride for fucking everybody. There really is. There's a ride for fucking everybody. There's a place for fucking everybody, right? It's fucking Disneyland and it's California Adventure put together.
That's true, right? Okay?
And school is always like that because even in high school, they take you through everything. You know, they don't really give a fuck about you. They'll grab you by the hand and try to get you the fuck out. It only makes them look better. And universities, they don't care if you graduate or not. What they care is that you stay. That while you're there, you're spending money. They're not. They do have.
Look at this right here.
They do have things to help you, tools to help you, but they don't advertise that. They don't fucking tell you because they don't care. They want your money.
Now we have something right here. LGBTQ student affairs, $60,000. I don't know what that is, but that's a lot of money for. No, I'm not. This kind of goes back to our next.
Well, look at the one above it. Look at the one above it. Minority and multicultural student affairs, 68.
That's a lot of money right there. So
our next. I would know because I would be considered a minority technically.
Right. It's a lot of money. So that comes to our next sort of topic right here, where we talk about political cesspool for radical ideologies. Now
that goes both ways, by the way. We're not just talking about one or specific one.
A bunch of them.
It goes both ways. Okay. So we hate because like we mentioned before in our beginning podcasts. I take point by point. I don't go to one group or another. You know what I mean? I don't balance one group or another. What I do is I go from one topic and I take each issue as an individual, one at a time.
Right.
Okay? And I think that's what you have to do in order to successfully think for yourself. Okay? If you automatically put a label on yourself, what you do is you limit, right?
Mm-hmm.
The possibilities of different outcomes per issue. That's basically what I'm trying to say is if you as soon as you label yourself as something, you're stuck within the mold and the threshold of that something. You know what I mean?
Right.
So take that into account. We don't associate with anybody except ourselves. Okay? That's very important. That's very important to
Independent
understand.
thought. We're called free think for a reason.
Exactly. And if you're listening to us and you like what we say, hopefully you're a free thinker too. But it's very important you guys understand. Colleges are supposed to be a spring and well of ideas.
Not anymore. You know it's pretty much come down to it's dictatorshipness, or not even that. It's
students run the campus.
Group type. Well, yeah, they do.
In a groupthink mold.
Mentality.
Yeah. The groupthink mold runs the group.
What's happening right now?
The students run the school.
As they're having these ideologies pushed down somebody's throat. Another problem with universities right now, a huge thing happening. Free thought, free speech happening. We have all these safe spaces. And I'm not against people that need to take time to themselves, but there's problems when you can't have real conversations. That's a huge type of problem.
I agree.
So
100%.
Things need to be changed where people actually are able to debate. I'm not talking about calling anybody names or anything like that. That's wrong, or using any type of racial type words or any of that type of stuff. You always want to combat that out. But we should always be mindful of free speech. Free speech is important. If you're a liberal out there, you especially a traditional liberal, you understand. That's one of the things that I always fought for was free speech. Now that's being under attack. Now we have all these people, professors, I guess personalities, radio personalities, all these people, a lot of conservative people especially, get attacked on their ideas, or some professors, even some liberal ones, that they go there, they can't talk, they get boycotted, this and that, they get kicked out. You have people being offended. People used to be adults to be able to talk and have common sense and say, okay, I don't like that, that's fine. I'm gonna disagree.
If there's one thing, there's two things that I've learned in my life. The first one is that common sense isn't so common anymore.
No, it's not at all.
And that's sad. The second one, I say it all the time, people ruin shit.
People always fucking ruin shit.
It always comes back to that.
That's our theme, by the way. In case you guys don't know, if this is your first time out, listening to us, our whole fucking theme comes down to, we figured out on our last podcast, 5 words: people ruin shit, and
context matters.
Context does matter. Thank you. Yeah. So that's if you can sum everything down to 5 words, that's a whole point of our podcast.
You have to understand, guys, that the way to evolve as a culture, as a race, as a people, because the way I look at it is, there's only one race that matters, and that's human.
Correct.
There's only one group of people that matter. Those are people.
Right.
Okay? But we're not going to evolve as a group. We're not going to evolve as a civilization if we don't communicate well.
Correct.
And if the only thing that we have to offer is bullshit. And by bullshit, I mean attacking people for having different thoughts than you.
Right.
Automatically trying to shut them down for voicing their different opinions on multiple different platforms. 3, trying to take away a right that you have no fucking right to take away. In this case, the First Amendment. That's 1. Correct. And 4, claiming to own something that is not yours. Case in point, dreadlocks. No, I'm serious. This is...
Explain your dreadlock things.
So, dreadlock. Right?
Okay.
Dreadlocks. They're not an African thing. They did not originate in Africa.
Where did it come from?
Sorry, they did originate in Africa, but it didn't originate from black people. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Okay? Black people do not own dreadlocks.
Okay.
Egyptians do.
That's true. If you go back in ancient
Egyptians own dreadlocks. And, not to mention, the Greeks.
Okay.
So, by the way, Egyptians are not black, by the way. They're not considered black.
They're considered, I guess you would call them yellow people.
I would consider them more like white, because a lot of them were white.
But I think that's what they, if I remember correctly, I don't know, somewhere in school I learned this, they actually call them yellow.
Regardless, they're not black.
Right.
Right? And dreadlocks originated mostly in our culture. They're the ones who used dreadlocks.
Correct.
And so, before your culture claims to claim something, be absolutely fucking sure you know exactly what the fuck you're claiming is your part of your culture. Because otherwise, what you're doing is you're grandstanding, and you're also trying to accuse someone of appropriation when it's not there. Which is another thing. That's
a common phrase called cultural appropriation.
Yeah, but that thing's been a thing. It's just now it's more popular. You know what I mean? But my whole thing is just like...
We're going to get to that point pretty soon. If you like Mexican food, it's going to be wrong to say, hey, That's cultural appropriation. You're not allowed to like Mexican food.
No, you know what I think it is? I think there's a lot of race mixing going on.
Right.
So I think that eventually where do you draw the line then? For example, you're a half-breed.
Oh yeah, I don't look it at all out there. And so if you ever see a picture of me out there, half Mexican, and I'm half white. I don't even really act on my. I mean, I have a family background. My uncle was a mariachi player. It's kind of interesting. I've had my first Holy Communion. No, that's for those that don't know, Hispanic culture traditionally comes up with the Catholic community. That's what a lot of Hispanics are. And that's sort of a little bit of my upbringing as well. But I don't really, I look at myself as American first, and I try to embrace everybody. Mm-hmm. That's what we should all do.
And with that being said, there's a lot of race mixing going on. You're not the only one. Okay?
If you want to think about it truly, too, there's no such thing nowadays as a true, well, there is, but I mean, probably on a very, very, very rare scale. I mean, as far as actually a true ethnic group, it's very, very rare that people actually are.
Yeah, everybody's one way or another. They're blended from different cultures.
Most likely, and we're talking about our civilization that has transcended for billions and billions of years.
Yeah. So where do you draw the line then? So do you just judge somebody by the color of their skin? In that case, that makes you a racist. If you judge somebody from how they look, that's discriminatory.
Correct.
So it goes both ways, right? This is an idea that starts in colleges and universities, where the words
identity politics is a huge thing. It's a huge subject, and that's a huge thing that where it's when we're talking about multiculturalism, we're actually being a lot more divisive a lot of times, and that's some of my problems I have with. I don't have other.
Let me give you a perfect example, right?
Go ahead.
I'm Spanish.
Yes, and you speak Spanish fluently.
I do, yeah. Well, in my household, we don't call it Spanish; we call it Castilian. But that's just to paint a picture, okay? But if you look at me, I'm tan, right? If you look at me, I'm tan.
You can pass off as a white guy.
I guess. So, I guess the way that I speak, I sound like I come from a white neighborhood, basically, right? Which makes sense because my mom's a white woman.
My mom is, basically she's full Mexican, but she looks white.
So, with that being said, right? With that being said, when you talk to me over the phone, you're not going to be able to tell that I'm tan.
At all.
Not at all. When you see my face, and you see my face, if you don't hear me speak, most of the time people think I'm Mexican. And they'll assume I'm Mexican. Because people like to assume shit, right? What colleges have done is they try to tell people to be more aware, not to assume, right?
Colleges are a lot in favor of what's that phrase that they're talking about? Affirmative action. Have you heard about that?
Yeah. No,
go. I'm sorry to interrupt your point.
No. But that goes into my stuff.
Okay.
They make you ask shit. They make you want to. But here's the problem with that though.
Right.
They take advantage of that.
Here's a huge.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I do. And here's a huge thing going on right now with the Asian community. A lot of them are having a hard time. Now you can research this on your own, but studies in, like, for example, top schools like Stanford and Harvard, I've heard some cases of them having to score higher, or they've actually scored higher than other races or ethnicities, I should say, and they weren't actually able to get in because of their race. As far as people are saying that there's too many Asians, this and that. We should have people.
There is a culture quota.
I think we should have people.
Not a culture quota. There's an ethnic quota.
Huge thing going on in faculty right now too, because they want to have a certain percentage, and I think it also has to be government related as well too. But they want to have a certain percentage of races into a school.
But again, that goes to the original thing that I said earlier. Universities are businesses.
They are businesses first.
So what Phil just said, to paint that into perspective, to put more emphasis on why schools, universities are businesses, That's why. Because what do fucking actual businesses do? What limitations do they have? They have to hire a certain number of people based on sex and race. Correct?
Correct.
Exactly. Universities do it too. Congratulations.
Well, I mean, and I think that's unfortunately things that have actually shifted. And going back to the main thing we were talking about previously, as far as that, all these radical ideologies that's in the schools today. Free speech is gone. It's not fair. So you guys out there, and a lot of times too, people that have a particular political opinion, they get bullied. They get radicaled or whatever it is. It's like, geez, this person happens to be...
You guys have to understand, the first thing you hear isn't true. Okay? You have to take the stop being lazy. You know what I mean? Because remember when we were talking about, you're more likely to believe the group that you're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before you actually go and do the research. Okay? We've said that before on this podcast. We've said that before. My biggest issue, right, is when you're taking it from issue to issue. You're already coming in with an opinion on the issue. If you're part of a group, because the group has already decided this is how we stand on this particular issue. But that goes with Democrats and Republicans, conservatives, liberals, feminists, MRAs, feminists, anti-feminists, because not all anti-feminists are MRAs. For those of you that don't know what MRAs are, it's men's rights activists. Okay,
not too many of them these days.
There is kind of a decent number of them, but not enough to. Most of them are just kind of just like, you know what I mean? But anyway, it goes beyond the thing though. Why this is important, right? Is they come in with this automatically with an idea of a topic. Most people don't even know, so they're coming in with misinformation. But because they're part of this particular group, they have to take the word of whoever runs the group, right?
Mm-hmm.
That causes discourse,
right?
Because because already coming in to have this particular conversation, they're not even listening. You know what I mean? They're automatically thinking of no matter what this person says, they're wrong. You know what I mean? That's fucked up.
That's very, very messed up.
Which, by the way, leads me, and I want to touch on this bill quick before we go back to something else. Okay? I want to paint a picture of how universities are businesses, because this matters. Because this falls into groups, right?
It does.
And the reason why, and I need them to understand this, because it's imperative people comprehend the necessities of having to know this, to have the information in your hands to make that proper judgment. And I'm gonna go ahead and start with this, okay? Phil.
Yes. Go on.
Name one major degree, right, that is really bad, that you should avoid.
Well, if you're gonna do anything in the social services, that especially some that involve gender studies, definitely, or drama and theater arts, studio arts, stuff like that. I'm not, the majority of the time they're low earnings. If you get like a degree in drama and you're wondering why you're having a problem making money, I'm not saying if you're passionate for drama not to go into that, if that's what you want to do. However, I'm just trying to prepare some of you guys out there that have to understand there's some programs that if it's a degree that doesn't sound common, not that and it exists now because maybe of pressure, like something weird, some weird trivia like lesbian studies or something like that. Now, I'm not attacking the LGBT community or anything like that. I have some friends and actually who are gay and stuff like that. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. I'm just trying to say, if you're having something that goes towards a particular minority group or something like that, generally speaking, or if it's about social studies in some capacity, that isn't an emphasis of helping majority of people.
You have to understand, guys, okay? Whether you're lesbian, whether you're straight, gay, whatever, or however you define yourself as, okay? Understand that we want you to succeed, okay? It's okay to do what you want, but before you make those kind of decisions that you're going to use, right? We want you to understand. They don't fucking tell you this, but you hear it all the time when you get home, or you physically experience it because of the aftermath of all of these things that happened. Because you went to school, you realized you can't get fucking work, right? So now you're paying the repercussions of your actions for the major that you chose to study in. Okay, we don't care. Okay, that whatever what your background is, what we care is about you as the individual. Okay, we want you to thrive. Okay, we want you to succeed, and you can't succeed if you take, like Phil said, theater and drama. The success rate to get into the acting business is incredibly difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to just understand that it's super difficult. You get into STEM fields. You know what I mean?
Here are some. Here's a site right here I just found right now. It's called the Job Network, and here's kind of something funny: the 10 super weird college majors you've never heard of. Adventure ed, bagpiping, Canadian studies, auctioneering, the Beatles, citrus, comic art, Egyptology, fair science, pop culture. I'm telling you, there are some weird studies out there. If you see something like that, think twice. I mean, you're spending a lot of money. Take your school seriously.
You guys have to understand that no one's gonna carry you. No one's gonna carry you. No one's gonna carry you for the rest of your life. So let me give you some degrees, okay? Let me tell you some degrees that are gonna make you some fucking money. All right? Mining and mineral engineering, okay? Mechanical engineering, naval architecture, marine engineering, electrical engineering, personally my favorite, chemical engineering, aerospace engineering.
That's really huge.
Yes.
Obviously, math and computer science.
STEM fields. Right. Okay? These make you money. Okay? Because here's the fact, okay? Like, a lot of people use the excuse, you don't want to have a job, you want to have a career. And the difference between a job and a career is a career is something you love to do, right? Because it's something you're going to devote your entire time to.
Surprised about this one right here. Some of the lowest ones we were talking about earlier: visual and performance arts, health and medical preparatory programs. That's like, I guess, like a pharmacist, pretty much. Communication disorders.
No, a pharmacist is a doctor. Well, so they make pretty good money.
A pharmacist?
Yes, they're a doctor.
They are, yeah. They have the study of drugs, but
they went to med school.
Right, you're right. But here's what strikes me like funny though. You would think that the health and medical preparatory programs would be higher, higher on a higher paying school.
I think those are vocational.
Right. Well,
I think those are vocational. So if you're talking about like a nurse assistant or a medical assistant, then yeah, I can see that.
But here's what I was surprised about: studio arts. If that's like 3D work and like movies and stuff, you would think, let me just double check this right here, that would actually pay a lot more money. I guess around $40,000, and I think some of these actually do vary. Like if you're doing graphic design for, actually all it comes down to your game. That's going to sell you. If you make like the Grand Theft Auto, it's huge. It's like a blockbuster hit. You're going to make a lot more money. I actually thought about going to graphic design when I was younger. Mm-hmm. So some of these always vary, but as far as that, I'm actually really surprised that this is actually from Time magazine.
Here's one thing I want to make clear. Okay,
not that we actually
there are ways to make money without going to school.
Right.
I mean, you still have to learn and go to a particular type of school, like institutions, like institutes and stuff, like the Electrical Training Institute, just to give you an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are ways to make money, but if you really want that degree, okay, please go get a degree that will have a potential to give you money, okay? This is very, very fucking important, because the fact of the matter is, counseling psychology is not going to bring you shit. Social work isn't going to bring you shit.
Now we have some of the ones we listed off. With some of the lowest ones: counseling and psychology, 29,000; early childhood education, 36; religious studies like theology, 38,000; studio arts, actually it's 40,000; social work, 39,000; visual and performing arts. Now I think realistically, if you are actually somebody like that's done that, what's that play, Hamilton or something like that, you might do a lot better chance of making a lot more. But for the most part, it's very, very hard to make money in drama.
I would think so. But along with that being is like we're trying to just make sure that you guys, when you guys go to school, that you understand. Sometimes going to school isn't about picking your hobby.
One of the highest ones right now,
petroleum engineering,
getting gas.
Yeah,
finding ways to get gas.
But like I'm getting at is, if you're gonna go to a university, it's not about your passion. It's about making fucking money. So understand that, okay? Like. I'm not like we all like to have fucking fun around here.
We do.
We're making jokes and shit, but in reality, the fact of the matter is, Phil and I care. So sometimes you need to prioritize your future rather than a hobby. Because here's the thing: you can go to a school and learn how to play guitar. You can play it. You can pay someone to teach you how to play guitar class. You can also learn how to do it on your own.
True. There's a lot of stuff nowadays.
You have to understand too, guys.
That's a great point. Nowadays too.
Everything's on YouTube.
Right. Everything's online. A lot of times people become successful by learning on their own. There's so many programs nowadays too.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that.
And I guarantee you, there's someone up the street that knows how to play guitar.
That's true.
So that's important. But what I want to get to is that schools don't really monitor political agendas. They just kind of let one take over, and the students run the school. Like, remember what happened in Berkeley when they locked out all white students from going to classes, including white professors?
I did hear about that.
Yeah, Berkeley decided they wanted to be fucking cool, right? And so they formed an entire chain to block professors from going to class, white professors from going to class.
They basically segregated the schools.
Yeah.
How crazy is that right there?
And some schools are even trying to ban white students from attending their schools. And the universities are just letting them do it. The universities are just letting them do it. No one's saying anything. But when they go into the real world, they realize, oh shit, everything that's happening here doesn't actually happen out here.
No, it's real life.
Yeah, and you have to understand.
And you have to have money for shit to happen.
Individual experiences are not reality. So perception is not reality.
They don't really you know what, that comes on to another point. I might even think actually we should probably talk about it right now. Some of the stuff that they should be teaching should be instituted early on in high school. And mostly it would be better if they actually started teaching things that actually would matter, like stuff.
Yeah, like learn how to pay fucking taxes.
That would be a huge thing. If you could teach me how to fucking not have to go through TurboTax, I'd be very, very, very happy. Rather than actually having to do my taxes, because you can actually technically do that all by yourself. They don't teach you. One of the things they don't teach you in school, and unfortunately we all learn at a later age, is anything.
And some of us don't even know how to do it. They just pay someone else to
anything
do it.
About our finances, anything important stuff. Filing healthcare plan,
yep,
or doing basic insurance, standard type of shit that we need to do.
Indeed.
And we should have courses on that. Why don't we have a way for people to actually understand how to balance their checkbook, understand how to do their money, save, invest? Why don't we have people learn about stocks and stuff at an earlier age?
Some schools are extremely poor. But remember, who sets this educational standards per state?
Expand on that. Who does?
The state.
Absolutely right.
It's federally
regulated.
It's federally regulated, but who sets the curriculum standard per state for graduation standards? The state does.
Every state has their own.
Every state has their own graduation requirements to get you the fuck out of school. And you have to understand, they're only going to make you mandatorily take the bare minimum to get you out. Their goal isn't to set you up for college. They could give a fuck about you going to college.
They want to make your money.
The schools want to make money. And how do they make money? Tests and exams. That's their main goal. They don't really care that you don't know how to pay your taxes. They don't really care that you don't know how to apply for healthcare or basic fucking insurance. They don't fucking care that you don't know how to fucking budget. Which, believe it or not, I think it's a necessary fucking skill, because especially in today's climate right now, people that don't know how to fucking budget.
Average person doesn't know how to budget. Average person.
You're out of fucking money. What do you do?
They're screwed.
What the fuck? You're fucking screwed.
Taking out loans and stuff.
Yeah, man. These are necessary. These are necessary shit. This is necessary shit. Okay. When my kid goes to fucking college, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think for high school? Do you think that I'm gonna be fucking afraid that he's not gonna be able to do his own shit? Because I work, you'll work, right? Our kids are gonna go to school. Our job is gonna be home to bring home money to get them to get them clothes on their backs and fucking a roof over the head, right?
Right.
We're not gonna think about this. We're not gonna think that, oh shit, maybe they need to learn this shit, right? We won't, and we also won't have the time, because our main time will be to spend time with them, to get them to grow, to get them to be kids, and then when they're in high school, to just prepare them for adulthood. But we don't, because we don't teach them this basic shit. You know what I mean? And then they depend on us. They depend on us to get them through more shit, right? So they stay at home longer.
That's 100% correct. I mean, that's one of the things that needs to be emphasized more. Why aren't we teaching things that actually matter instead of,
basic life skills?
Instead of social studies, which I'm not saying they're not all important.
You know what else you should add on to that list too?
What?
Cooking.
Cooking. That's a good fucking thing.
Culinary class.
They do actually have. I'm thinking that
home economics. I don't count that.
Home ec, but I mean,
I don't really count that because they're pre-planned. They're like extravagant meals. They're not basic shit to make you survive. And with that, combine that with financing.
Financing is
so
very
that
important.
You can budget your fucking meals, right? Like, all this shit is not complicated shit. We're making it probably sound complicated because there's a lot of shit we're stacking on top of you. But if you put it in a classroom setting, you do it from experts, right, into schools. And then you get them to practice by giving them a task, making them problem solve it, right?
And even when I went to school in business studies, some important things about investments, 401k investments, stuff like that would have been very useful. It was skimmed past my school. There's a lot of shit I still have to find out on my own that I wasn't, taught. Unfortunately, too, it's the way our school system is. It is all about tests. And I think a lot of times it covers the topics that aren't really ever going to help you in general.
To be honest, dude, like Trig helps me.
It helps you,
but does it help you?
No.
Is Trig something you need to know?
For me personally, and I actually didn't do Trig. I did business calculus. That's the highest level I went up to.
Because I did Trig and pre-calc, right? And I also did calculus. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I did.
Are you gonna need to know how to do trig and pre-calculus or calculus?
Not generally, no. However, if you're going into like a scientific career. By the way, here's another.
But you're not though.
And I want to bring up this story too.
I'm using you as an individual to answer this because most people are not going into a STEM field, and that's a problem.
It was kind of the funniest thing. One of my teachers told me, she was in my business calculus class I had at school. Mm-hmm. She was the most honest teacher I ever had. She's like, and she's from Greek. I'm going to try to imitate her accent because it'll be kind of funny. But she was all saying, okay, students. You're never going to have to use this. I was like, what? She just said that. How never? Because you're a student. You're none. I was like, thank you. Very first professor who ever told me the truth, because she said, because computers do everything. I was like, that's absolutely right. When you're an engineer, most of the time, you're going to have your computer do all of your equations for you. That's the truth.
Well, to a certain extent.
Because
you
still have to input it.
Because as an electrical engineering, you're using the CAD program. So just like an architect would. The only difference is that you would add, you have to know, a lot of what you learn in school, you can't apply it out there. And so you get to learn how to draft a blueprint, how to draft power scales and power drawings and stuff like that, right? And the basic outline of where receptacles need to go from the walls and shit like that, you know what I mean? Or how power needs to be run, or where things need to go like that. And then electricians at the basic level will adapt on top of that, you know what I mean? By actually installing shit. But you do the basic overview. You need to know math. You need to know circuits. Circuits is probably the most important class you'll take as an electrical engineer. That's the most important class. And here's the thing. That you do use. But a lot of other shit that you take in school, like basic general ed,
right?
You don't.
I'm not saying I think math generally do use most of those concepts,
but that's because that's the scope of the work that you're doing. You're a businessman,
right?
So if you're going to interact with somebody over business, do you need to know math? Yes.
Yes.
But do you need to know higher end math? No. Does that make sense?
It all depends on. That's what it should be.
What you need to learn is finance.
Absolutely.
Do I need to know finance? Yes, because I need to know how to.
Finance is for everybody.
It's for everybody. But do you need to know trig? No. That's the whole point of what I'm getting at.
Absolutely.
That's the point of what I'm getting at. There's a lot of fucking subjects in school that don't need to be taught in school, or and if they are going to be taught in school, add these. So, because most seniors, dude, when I was a senior, you know how many classes I had to do?
How many did you have?
3 required and then 3 electives.
Wow.
As a senior. When I was in school. That was back in 2012, right? When I was a senior in high school. If I had finance, and as a junior, I had 2 electives I had to do.
That's some bullshit.
And then as a sophomore, I had 1. So what I'm getting at is that instead of those electives, right?
Mm-hmm. That would have been nice to have those type of electives instead of these bullshit type of things to pick from.
Yeah, man, it's like
stuff that would like how to play with Play-Doh, like pottery. Like, what the hell am I gonna do with fucking pottery?
Yeah, like I get it. Like, they're supposed to be hobbies to expand your mind, but the problem is, like, it doesn't do anything for you.
It should be customized to that individual student. And that's a problem too.
If your goal is the arts, you shouldn't just do the arts. You should learn management,
right?
Stage management, shit like that. You know, like basic shit that'll actually can get you hired to do shit. You know what I mean? Or apprenticeship programs while you're in colleges, like internships, to do that for all the fucking things, right?
I've been hearing a lot of people talk about something even better. Is trade schools in general, because they actually teach you something fundamentally too as well.
It's a work study program. All right, guys, welcome back from the break. We were talking about work study programs, trade schools. Okay, well, get paid to go to school and get a job guaranteed afterwards. That's, I think,
trade school programs are really good. They get you a career right away.
Yep. Some of them even give you increases, such as electrician trade schools,
right? Electrical
trade schools. You know, because you need money. You know, and it's very important you guys have to understand. Like, we understand the hobbies, okay? Phil and I are huge fucking nerds.
Well,
right? We are. We are huge comic nerds, right?
Well, I mean, I don't consider myself a nerd. I consider myself a person who likes comic books.
You're a fucking nerd. All right? And so am I. And it's okay to own it. You know what I mean? It's not a big deal. But the problem is, I'm not going to go to school to study comic books.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay? It's a great hobby to have, and a lot of your hobbies can. Dude, people on the internet, on YouTube, are teaching you how to do these things. But and yes, you can learn how to finance and all that basic shit on YouTube on your own. But if somebody holds you under a gun and makes you do it, then it'll stick. Then it'll stick
a lot more better, right?
Yeah, it'll stick a lot better. So what I would do is if I was a school administrator, I'd be like, I want my kids to learn fucking how to apply for healthcare, how to manage healthcare systems, basic insurance, standard necessities such as cooking.
How about how to change your tire?
Fucking oil changing, do it yourself. You know what I mean, how to swap your brakes out.
Well, basic type of shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Basic type of shit, and then also financing. You know, it's basic human necessity skills to survive on your own.
Home. You know, just how to buy a house and simple stuff like real type of problems.
I would say that would fall under financing.
Right. But just
to understand what the fuck a credit score is.
What the fuck's that mean? They don't teach you that shit.
And also understand that California runs on a credit score system to buy houses. So you need like a minimum credit score of like 625. Now I have a really good credit score. I have like I'm not. It's over 700, almost 750. All right, that's all I'll say right now. I'm not gonna give you the exact number. I don't want you stealing. I don't want you stealing my shit.
Me either.
Regardless, what I'm getting at is that you, if you're taught how to build credit as a teenager or while in high school, all you'll do is just build it up.
People should know, simple terminologies like an IPO.
Yeah. Well, also how to read fucking contracts. Basic contracts for when you go to banks and set up bank accounts. Like, this is all shit.
Negotiating.
Yeah, like basic negotiating. You're not selling a company. You're not learning how to do that unless you're going to school for business particularly. But basic shit that impacts your life, I think, is a necessity.
I agree.
And so my contingency plan, if I were a school administrator, so if I was a superintendent of a school and you were the principal of that school, right? I would sit down with all the principals of who I supervise, and be like, all right, guys, what are you guys doing to bolster money for your schools, right? Principals, I believe, need to be businessmen. This is the only time where I believe that school should be a business. In the high school, middle school, or / junior high, and elementary school levels, because they need to bring money for the youth to prop them up. Universities, on the other hand, hell no. I think it needs to be reversed. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I agree with you to a certain extent. I think would be not everything is a business in my mind. Whether it's a church, whether it's your mom and pop ice cream shop, whether it's a school. Everything has to be managed. That's essentially, to me, what business means.
But not all businesses are managed.
What do you mean by that?
In the sense that, is the Marine Corps business?
Well, let's think about that. And you have the generals. And you have the president making orders.
Yes. Everybody has a boss.
It's a different type of business for sure. But
to me, it's not a business. You know why it's not a business? Because at the same time, the management structure is defined.
It's basically more socialist than anything else.
Yeah, and socialism to me is not a business. It to me, it's an oligarchy, and oligarchies aren't business. Those that have higher money or have power control everything.
What I was trying to refer to is the management system always needs to be placed. You have to have some sort of exchange of assignments, right? That's what I mean by business. To me, everything.
But that's what I'm getting at. Schools, like junior highs, high schools, they should be a business because they need to put money into our youth. Right?
Mm-hmm,
why I don't want universities to be a business is because I feel like they dominate. It's not like the healthcare industry where there needs to be more competitors.
Correct.
What it needs to do is to
focus on students.
Exactly, focus on its students. So in other case, not be a business, but be a place of growth, where money shouldn't be the involving factor of molding the next generation to take over. Well, so what I would consider more as an institution, and institutions to me aren't businesses. They're outside the realms of business.
Well, I'll give you my example, and I see what you're saying. But like, for example, if you look at, not-for-profit institutions, right? They're not about gaining profit for themselves. And a lot of times, I think people, when they think of business, they think of a profit benefit, and that's true in most cases. But
I guess most people, but I don't think that way.
Well, right, but in this type of sense, right?
No, I get what you're saying.
A business is basically a structure of management to be able to actually get things done. In a lot of ways,
I would say more like an entity, because I wouldn't say it's a structure. I would say more like an entity because the people manage the whole thing.
Right. Well, yeah, and you have leadership, and
different management levels. Yeah,
you have to have some sort of central leadership or agreement, even as of an oligarchy or whatever have you, or partnership.
Board of directors.
In order to get something done, if you have
board of directors.
If you have a school, university that doesn't have any business sense, they're spending money on stuff that's useless. Here's what I think the correct thing should be: business that's catered towards the students' benefits and not a profiteering type of mechanism it is today. If a business is focused towards the students, I'm 100% for that, because obviously you need to have, people get paid well to be able to manage correctly, but the focal point should be on the actual students and stuff.
So here's where I would disagree with you.
Sure.
It's the fact that...
That's why it's called free think, by the way, guys.
Here's why I disagree with you. Because now, I like you mentioned before, I'm half in agreement with you. Where I disagree is that schools should be a business for the students. I don't think they need to be a business at all. I think they should just be government regulated and get rid of half the institutions that are here. And here's why. Do we need community colleges? Realistically, think about it.
If you're
just gonna do general ed again, do we really need community colleges?
Give me a little bit more of
what is community college? What is community college?
Basically, it's associate's degree. Generally, it's a not always, but generally,
an AA or certificate program.
Associate's degree program, correct?
Okay. What are the requirements that you need to do before you can even get an AA degree?
High school degree, or depends on you, or you have to get your GED.
Okay. And when you're there, right, when you actually go to a community college, or a JUCO, as some of the new guys are calling it now.
They're calling it JUCO.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Junior college.
Oh, gotcha.
What curriculum do you have to take before you can get your AA?
You have to take that standardized. Man, it's been so long. SAT. It's not an SAT. It's a
no, not the exam to get in, because you can get in just being 18 years old. What I'm getting at is, what curriculum do you have?
Oh, you have to do English, math,
general studies.
General studies, right?
And guess what you do in high school?
English, math, general studies.
So do you really need a community college? Or is that extra money that's being lost on an extra institution?
Well, if you do a good enough job in high school, you're going to segue all the way to the 4-year degree by itself.
It's not about doing well in high school. It's about the money.
Absolutely, it's about the money.
Because you can be a shit student in high school, do well in junior college, and still go to a really, really good university, right?
I think one of the reasons why...
Right?
Correct.
Okay.
I think one of the reasons why, though, the community colleges were established in the first place, it's number one, not everybody needs a 4-year degree. Secondly, it's a lot more affordable, and they have certificate programs as well.
That's a point. That's money lost. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
If you get rid of all... in my opinion, you don't need junior colleges, because the universities are just going to do them anyway. But here's where the difference is. I don't want universities to make money off of the students. I want them to be owned by the government.
That's a great point. You know what? And I actually did go to
make them a government job.
I actually did go to a community college, just for you guys who are listening out there. And I can tell you, I saved myself. Even I would have probably possibly been in debt had I actually gone to a 4-year university. How I was able to do that was through a community college, where I got a lot of my credit, huge 5-credit classes or whatever you want to call it, through that platform, and then that transferred over to the university. So I see your point as far as that.
But let me tack onto this.
Right, go ahead.
You can most courses that you take in community college, they offer them that you have to do them in high school anyway. General studies, right? Mm-hmm. You have to. You're going to do it anyway. Here's the thing. We don't need community colleges. Realistically, we don't. Community colleges, to me, are a backdrop for kids that fail fucking high school, realize that they have to grow the fuck up to actually succeed, so they go to community colleges to save their asses. That's the wrong sentiment, in my opinion, to have, right? When you're trying to go to a higher end institution. I would say, get rid of all community colleges, right? And have one standardized accreditation for the state that goes nationwide, because we know there's more than one type of accreditation in the state of California. And guess what? If you want to go from one school to the other, and your accreditation doesn't match the other one, guess what? You're fucked, because your credits won't transfer over.
That's a huge problem.
So, hear me out. We get rid of all community colleges.
Sure. It's a bold idea.
The universities that are here, so CSUs and UCs, No other schools besides those, and Stanford, but they're on their own. Okay, but that's it. Just those, run by the state. So now there's state jobs for professorships. No longer will the students pay to go to school, right? And this is one time where I feel like the government should step in to manage the possibility of the scopes of studies you can major in. I didn't say take.
So are you advocating for tuition free?
Kinda, yeah. Why not?
Well, I'll tell you my opinion on that. It's when you put money into something, right? Isn't it like anything else in business, right?
Mm-hmm. You're investing, yeah.
You're investing not only your time and your money. Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with you as far as a lot of stuff you're saying. I see your point. My thing is, I don't have a problem with schools costing money. What I have a problem with is a ridiculous cost.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be $40,000 per freaking semester.
Well, you have to understand too. The professors are getting paid.
What I think too is
you understand.
Here's another thing too.
And a lot of the salaries that they make, right? Mm-hmm. They're piggybacking off of you
because and it's a very
it needs to be one standard across the board.
But then again, I know you're big advocates for state rights.
Well, yeah.
So that kind of goes against that type of premise right there. If you are going to be advocate for that, some states might not like that whole one standard.
I don't give a fuck about them. I don't give a fuck about them. It's not about them. It's about
but the states but the people that make up those states, they might have a different say. And it is about the people.
But like I said, other states do your own shit. Yeah, because guess what? While we're all Americans, we're all individuals, and I love everybody the same.
Sure.
If your shit doesn't physically affect me, why the fuck are we even talking? Right? That's what I'm getting at. My whole thing right now is the state of California, and right now the state of California pays way too much for fucking.
So colleges. You're talking about California alone to have a.
If other states want to do their own thing, that's fine.
Because you're talking specifically.
I'm talking about here.
Okay, it sounded like you were talking about before.
Nationwide? Fuck no, I don't care about nationwide.
Okay.
No, it's impossible because at that point, it becomes a dictatorship. You mentioned I'm a states' right activist, and even then, I'm not even an activist. All right, you misspoke, but regardless of what I'm saying,
sorry about that. Guys.
No, it's all right. But what I'm getting at is,
I meant to say,
I care about my community.
Right, correct.
And I care about colleges. I'm still one of those individuals that believes people should go to colleges, but not like this. You know what I mean? This is bullshit. If California State Universities, if University of Californias are run by the state government, the government itself will fund their jobs. So they'll set a standard for professors getting paid, right? So then there's no more, this school is going to out-survive this school based on name and reputation on itself. You know what I mean? Because to me, the name of the school shouldn't matter. It's the quality of the education that's being offered.
Like me, so are you advocating also too for like a standard wage for every school?
Hell yeah. Why not? Do you honestly think that a professor teaching gender studies should make six figures? On a bachelor's degree? On a bachelor's degree.
Well,
and by six figures, I mean like 200,000. I don't mean like 125.
I think that's too much. However, here's my philosophy as well too.
Where would you balance it?
My balance would be first of all for school accountability. Here's how I think we could fix the entire equation, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because my thing is pretty much if you're good at something,
mm-hmm.
you deserve to be. If you're good at something, I don't like to take somebody's money if they worked hard at doing something. Generally,
business typically do.
Well, what I'm trying to say is like if you are worth, maybe for example, I know we're kind of rattling some of these administrators to make a lot of money.
I don't fuck.
Oh, I know you don't. That's my top 3 thing. However, I'm not going to say every single one of those people are bad people.
No.
Some of them actually might do $400,000. For all I know, that could happen. Maybe there's one guy he's doing.
There's always outliers.
There's always outliers,
yeah.
right? But my
general estimation here.
My point is basically to fix the type of problem isn't to attack people's salaries. In my opinion, I think the better solution would be say, hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and basically we're going to fix the problem right here. We're going to make sure that we have accountability. So, for example, here's a better situation. If we have 20% or maybe even 30% of your students, maybe 30 to maybe let's even do like 35%.
Okay.
I have a CSU school or something like that, and they can't find jobs. They've been applying. That school's not helping them find a job, and they have this big ass loan on their back. They should be required. The school itself should be able to be required to pay that money on behalf of that student.
But here's the problem, though, with that. Some states, loans are done from the bank.
I'm glad you brought that question up.
They're not done from the school.
That's a huge problem as well, too.
Why do you think I said that the school should be run by the state? Specifically to avoid loans.
Well, no.
And here's what I mean.
But here's
just like a business.
This is a good idea right here. Oh, no, go with you can have your point first.
I don't believe in loans. I don't believe in loans for school because a lot of them they trick you with the wording and they expand and they piggyback. The banks make a lot of money on you failing.
Here's what's messed up too: is colleges get bailouts all the time.
Yes,
they get free money from the government.
Yes,
this is what we should do, and here's how we can fix this problem. If we actually said, you know what, you schools out there, they can take out loans. I don't have a problem with that, but you're going to be subject. Or penalized, actually. Well, I don't even want to go as far as penalized. I don't like regulations too much, but you're going to be subject to that if a certain percentage of schools are not able to find a job and stuff.
You mean students?
Students, thank you. Then it's going to be incumbent upon that school to be able to actually help them find a job somehow. If they don't, in a certain amount of time. They should be liable. They should be liable and stuff. Because
what about the other students? The ones that are you can't just isolate your graduating class.
If well, I'm assuming that they've already had an established career by then. I'm saying that say 30% were unable to find a job, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at though. It's what you're doing is you're saying if this percentage of graduating class doesn't get fucking work, we're gonna hold you accountable.
Well, you have to.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
You have to,
I just think how I would change it.
I'm being more realistic because some people, it's the individual. They don't make the effort. They don't make the work. They don't do shit.
Yeah, no. That's why I said 30%. That I didn't say anything less or that. What I'm getting at is you're isolating a group, just the graduating class. So you're putting more emphasis on the graduating class than the kids that are going through school. Does that make sense?
Oh,
so how I would fix it? How I would fix it, right? I do have a problem with loans while you're in school. To pay the school. I don't, or technically you're paying the bank.
I was talking about.
But what I would do, because I think it's very important that you get a fucking job. That's the whole point of why you're. Well, I take no correction. To get a career, because it's something that you should be wanting to do for the whole rest of your life that gives you income, right? With a high potential earning wage. Now, what I would do, right, is if I was the governor of the state of California, I'd be like, no, I'm taking all your fucking little party interests and shit. I'm taking all that out of you. No way are you gonna fucking capitalize on some bullshit. Now all schools are public, right? You have the option to attend them, which most people will now, because now they have the higher option to attend those schools, right?
So you would end private school?
No, they're not private school. No, not at all.
You make them all public.
I make them all fucking public, except for Stanford, because honestly, Stanford does their own shit, all right? All right, but like CSUs and UCs, make them all public. They're public already, but what I mean is easily acceptable to go them. But to get to the job part.
Now let me ask you something. What's your problem with private schools?
I don't. I just feel like that's extra money that could be used to be funding into the education program.
Because if they're private schools, they're not generally, in general speaking, they're not taking the type of resources that public schools are. It's basically funded by the families of that, and the loans are less.
Yes, that's true, but one thing you're not taking into accountability is that they're still taking money away from schools by students going there. Now, I never said I had a problem with private schools.
Sure.
What I have a problem with is the public schools. They're the ones I have a problem with. It's not the private schools. Private schools can do their own thing. But they do take money away from the educational systems of these big institutions. Actually, I think that by having private schools, they challenge the public schools. Private institutions to me should be businesses, but public schools as big as UCLA, CSU, and CSU schools shouldn't be a business.
Now you're talking about just for the state of California.
Just for the state of California.
And for the state of California, you're trying to say you would actually be in favor of saying, hey, get rid of all private schools.
How high is the tax rate?
Ridiculous. About 10% everywhere you go in California.
And how much? And also, the cost of living here is really high, right?
Extremely.
More than any other state besides New York, you would say?
Right. You know what?
Let me give
you. I had a couple other points, but go ahead.
How much is $12,000? How much is $1,200 here? Nothing.
Nothing at all.
And how much do you think $1,200 would be in Idaho?
A lot of money.
See the problem?
That goes. Here's another thing too. As a California person,
But don't forget that.
Don't forget what
that point, because it's gonna make sense later. But okay. Go ahead, finish.
As a California person, citizen, basically, I know one thing that's a fact. You always get these propositions. You're always voting. What comes up every single time? More money for schools. More money for this. More money than that.
Correction. To build schools, because they think we need to build more institutions. I don't think we need to build more. I think what we need to do is focus on the quality of the education. Quality over quantity, to me, is more important.
All this money, though, that's my point. We have a lot of money that goes to these educational facilities.
Yes.
Or funding in general, which is
losing money, might I add.
So here's goes to our original point of this whole entire segment.
Yes. Where's
all this fucking money going?
That's what I'm fucking getting at.
It's going to these fucking universities.
They're treating themselves like a business, which is what I don't like. And which brings me back to the thing I said: $1,200 in California isn't shit.
And like I said, I guess that's where you have a little bit of a free think.
Because here's the thing, dude. If
difference.
A lot of people are trying to say we need more schools. We need to build more schools. Blah 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 blah. We don't need to build more schools. We need to build the quality of education within these schools. Stop putting so much emphasis on this test.
Let me ask you another question then.
Yes.
If private schools are known to be, at least like Stanford, for example, elitist, and then those people do really well. Maybe instead of
or assumed to be well.
Yeah. If since that's been known to be the case, maybe instead of trying to eliminate private schools, we should try to find out.
I don't want to get rid of private schools. I mentioned that
just for California.
No, I don't want to get rid of private schools. I never said that. What I said was that they challenge the big public institutions. My problem isn't with private schools; it's with the public schools.
So you're saying
most people spend money on public schools than private schools.
You would eliminate it in California.
No, what I would do is I would make them all state run.
Oh, okay, state run.
Yeah.
So they'd actually be they all. What
I don't like about private schools is they take money away from other institutions because most people go there. But the balance side of it is that it's self-funded. So that's the balance to it. It's self-funded. My problem isn't with private schools. I could give a fuck about private schools. There's not that many of them anyway.
But when you say that, but there, as far as I know, all private schools are state-run. They have to go by.
Not all of them. Not all of them. They have to get a state accreditation. Yes.
That's what Let me rephrase what I'm saying. They all have criteria that has to be made by the state. If they don't have that criteria, we actually
to get state funding.
I'm not going to talk about our where we're living right now.
No. But you're right to get state funding. Yes, but to operate as a school, no.
Give me an example.
I can't think of one off the top of my head, but you don't necessarily need a state accreditation. Oh, UAV, perfect example. They have a state accreditation. They had a state accreditation that was not applicable to, say, for example, you went to UAV, right, and you majored in business. Say, you know what, I don't really like it here because this is bullshit. This is bullshit. I should go to a higher institution to get a better paid job, right? Say you transfer to Bakersfield. Guess what? Credits don't transfer.
Fucked.
But UAV has state accreditation. So then what? Like you mentioned before, you're fucked, right? But it has to apply to get those state accreditations to even get possibility of getting a little bit of state funding. Does that make sense? I want to eliminate that. That's what I want to get rid of. I want one state accreditation across the board. Okay,
so you're talking about the state accreditations.
Yes, that's what I want to get rid of. Private institutions don't the only negative thing that they affect is that they take money away from institutions, but it's not a lot. It doesn't hamper them. Does that make sense?
I would say,
and there's not that many of them.
If we focus more on these crazy, fundings for administrators. I mean, here's what I would say.
Well, that's why you need a set standard.
At least the professors, if anybody's going to get paid the most, let's give it to the free professors. People who are teaching students on how to become successful. Not freaking some administrators, But let's give it to the students, though, number one.
But that's my whole point. If they're state-run, you take the power away from administrators.
Correct, yeah.
And then by taking the power away from administrators, a.k.a. money, where does that extra money go? Into the quality of the education, right?
Right.
Which then benefits the
student.
In a utopia, that would work. But this is America. No, but seriously though, what I want to get rid of is these multiple accreditations. They're bullshit. I want one accreditation, one statewide accreditation. If you need to move for whatever reason from the locale that you're at, say somebody wants to hire you in San Francisco, but you're still in school, and they want you to complete your education, right? Wouldn't it make sense that you would find the best school there and won't have to worry about accreditation, because then you would know all the schools don't have the same accreditation, so all your credits would transfer, and you wouldn't have to take an extra class because this school's requirements are, hey, you don't have this particular credit, so you have to take this fucking class. So that's another class you have to pay for out of pocket. That is a huge problem. How do you get rid of it? State accreditation across the board.
That just seems pretty standard to me.
Magic.
Now that you say it that way, I understand.
So that's my bad. I guess I didn't explain it well enough.
Right.
But my so I apologize for people that got confused. My biggest issue with institutions is that they act like businesses. Private schools should act like businesses. You know what I mean? They should, because that's how they survive. Okay? I'm cool with having business problems. What I'm not cool with is when a mass group of them take advantage of the public. Like, there should be competition in business.
Here's my agenda, right? And not my agenda, but here's where
your perspective.
My perspective, right? If the business for these administrators getting paid those huge salaries, was actually directed towards, because business, in all honesty, is generally about for profit.
Yep.
If they had it, but they just changed that model a little bit.
And benefit of outcome.
Benefit of outcome. If they applied that, where they're saying, all right, we're going to have for profit, but for the students. That would be the perfect business model.
But that's where I would take that. But that goes into what I said, that the state runs the schools. Because what do you think they're going to use all that money for?
Well, here's my problem with the state running the schools. I don't really trust our state that much to begin with on most fundamental issues. For example, high-speed railroad. That for those who aren't in California, they raised, I know, a few years ago, actually a long time ago, but it was like half a penny across the board. They kept on telling us they're going to build a high-speed railroad that's going to go all around Los Angeles, back and forth, out the suburbs.
In an hour.
Never fucking happened.
Nope.
I don't trust the state to pretty much do anything correctly right now.
But you have to understand too, they're not going to be in power forever.
Well, my life experience has told me otherwise.
No. You're misunderstanding.
Go ahead.
The people that are in power right now are not going to stay in power.
Right, but
People will replace people, but before that, like I said, in a perfect utopia, my plan would work.
Yeah, but we're talking about California.
But we're talking about the system now, right? But this is where voting is important,
right? And that's,
now, in order to even make that even a conceptual idea in Congress, you have to bring it up. Now, is there flaws in my plans? Of course, as there's always flaws in every plan. My plan is not 100% foolproof.
No plan is.
Nobody is. They're gonna have drawbacks, but I feel like if you take all the money from the schools, you put it into their education, then I feel like it'll cause a domino effect into lowering the taxes too.
I don't know about that.
And here's why, right? When they see that the schools right now, right? It's expensive to go to school. That's one less expense by making a state-run thing. That's one less expense you have to worry about. You can start making more money. More money, it goes back to the state. When things are good, taxes are pretty low. They're not really high. They're really low. More workforce. You get to bolster more you have more time to bolster the workforce.
Well, it'd be a hard thing to get on board.
Well, yeah, I know, because most people are liberals. They're not going to want to give any more people power.
No, liberals don't have a problem with raising taxes. And
No. I'm talking about giving the state authority. Well,
that's
a problem for them.
They would most likely be in favor of that, but the problem is
then they're not liberals. Because usually what they want is they want less government involvement in public entities. That's a real definition of a liberal, by the way, like a legitimate one. They don't want government to run everything. They want the least amount of interaction as possible, with them not overstepping or them not coming back. So technically, that's what a real liberal should be.
No, that seems like the opposite of my definition of what a modern day liberal is. Definitely.
Yeah, well,
it's flipped.
To me, modern day liberals aren't liberals.
And it's flipped where it's
not legitimate ones, because liberals literally comes from, like we mentioned this before.
We're talking about the text, but I'm talking about when you talk about liberal standards, what it would actually sort of come to, because what you're saying that sounds very conservative. I'm sorry. Well, let me explain. So when you have the money being funded by the government, are people in favor of giving the government more control? That's definitely traditionally, well, I don't want to say traditionally, but especially nowadays, that's a liberal tendency. I think the problem though
which makes no sense, because liberal literally comes from the word libertad or libertalis or something like that.
If you go back, but remember, things have changed over time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't consider modern liberals.
Well,
I consider them their own entity. I don't even like the fact that they use the word liberal. Same thing with conservatives. I don't like it the same either. That's another reason why I don't like labels. But my whole thing with that, we're kind of digressing.
Go ahead.
Is the fact that the more businesses that rise up for the most potentiality to bolster a workforce, the more money they bring into the state through taxes. Right? So, the more workers you have, the more jobs you get, the more businesses come up. The more battle for resources come up, which means healthcare battles. Right? Which could cause a healthcare battle. Like I said, remember how we mentioned that we both don't like how the healthcare industry is monopolized?
We don't. Right.
If we have more people, right? More people are not going to like it either. They're going to start their own healthcare companies and they're going to fight between each other, and then competition goes up. The bigger a workforce, the more opportunity for business thrives. Or opportunities arise, Opportunities arise.
Mm-hmm.
And the more people bringing in money, the less you have to take away.
The problem is, though, in California, that money most likely gets misdirected or misguided.
Oh, yeah, 100%. You know why? Because they have their own agenda.
Right. And it goes back to our fundamental principle of what we say every segment.
People ruin shit. Like I said, like I mentioned earlier, in a proper utopia, this wouldn't be a problem. In a proper utopia, this wouldn't be a problem. But the problem is, we're living in reality.
So, going to our contingency plan, would you still try to apply your ideas we're talking about today?
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
You know why? Because it's better than just waiting around for them to keep taking money. Because what honestly do we do by taking money away from the schools and then make them stay funded? What do we lose?
By taking money away from them?
In the sense that I don't want them to monopolize money away from the students.
So you're probably, so if I understand you correctly, which I think I'm getting a better idea, wasn't fully understanding, but this is basically what you're saying. Have more control for the state of California to say, hey,
for schools,
we're gonna take away some funding unless you make sure that you have a better, chance for your
quality of education,
and most of your students are getting jobs. So we're gonna take that money away from you. Is that what we were kind of saying in a nutshell?
Kind of.
Because I kind of am
a little bit.
I'm understanding a little bit more where it comes from. If that was the case,
yeah.
If it's a little bit, then what would you?
I would
on the summary do or bullet point.
Well, I would also make sure that I would take away some extra bullshit curriculums.
Okay, so you're talking about extra curriculums.
No. Taking away the bullshit curriculums
that aren't essential.
Exactly. That.
Okay.
Doing what you just mentioned earlier.
Okay.
That's 2. And the third one is making sure that students get work.
Okay. I think that sounds like
that's
something that
like I said,
most people
I don't give a fuck
about. Be in favor of.
I don't give a fuck about the institutions. Your name means absolutely fucking nothing to me. I don't care how many people have been to your school. I don't care who the fuck has been there. Fucking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar may have gone to UCLA, but you know how many fucks I give about that?
Not zero.
Cristiano Ronaldo could have gone to UCLA. I still wouldn't have given a fuck.
I'm sure if somebody did go there,
No, I still wouldn't have given a fuck because reality is.
I know. I'm just joking a little bit, but.
Well, I guess, yeah.
But oh shit, Elvis went there. Oh shit.
Elvis has a black belt in karate too. You don't see me giving a fuck about that, right? And I do karate, so there's that too.
But
I do, yeah, because it's like it's Elvis. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
Well, most people probably don't even know who the fuck Elvis is if you're fucking born after 1999. But in reality, like what I'm getting at is those are my 3 things. I care more about the quality of education than the amount of schools that there are at. Do I want my fucking kid to get a degree in gender studies and then be unemployed for the rest of his life? Living at my house because I have to maintain him now?
No.
So I have to go past the age of 65 just to support this motherfucker?
Not too good.
Guess what's happening now? Parents are still working.
Well, a lot of times too is because of economy factor too.
The economy factor, yeah, I get it. But again, if these schools would have helped kids prepare them properly to get them jobs, would we still be having the same conversation?
Be a totally different scenario.
And also, too, along those lines too, that's also very, very important. If they didn't have to spend too much fucking money, because obviously you should spend money on like food, because that's kind of an essential thing. But that you didn't have to worry about this fucking bullshit thing on your back. That you can just focus, all right, so as soon as I go to school, I'm going to try to get my education degree so I can get a job. But of course you have to do the work, obviously. You have to get the work. You have to do the interview. But they can hook you up to get the interview. You know what I mean? After that, you start. You know what I mean? Then, that would be different. Then you would want to go to school because like, oh shit, I can get an education. Now I have the possibility of getting a job. Of course, you still have to do the work, or else they're not going to pass you. And this is where I feel like colleges and universities should be different from high school. Instead of grabbing your hand, trying to give you the bare minimum, if you don't hit a certain standard, if you don't hit C's all the way through, I mean, you should aim for higher, right? But C's shouldn't like D should not be enough to get you from one year to the other.
That makes sense.
Universities are supposed to challenge you. I still believe they should.
Right.
I don't think you should coast. Because here's the thing too. There has to be a check and balances. So they can't just do all the work for you. You have to put in the effort. The effort scale should be 51-49. 51 on behalf of the educational school, because they're the ones who have to house you to make sure that they're giving you the education you need to be able to function out in the workforce. And 49% being the student, because they just don't have the resources that the universities do.
Definitely makes sense. As far as that, as far as housing and stuff, I think all comes down to managing resources. That's correct too. It's a main thing though. Definitely make it better for the students.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's number one.
The students will replace us when it's time. They're the next guys coming up.
Absolutely. Well, any other topics on that particular situation?
No, I just want to hear your thoughts. Now that you understand me better, do you disagree with me still?
Yes, I'm gonna have a little bit of. Oh, I agree with you on a lot of subjects you said. You said some great points about having more regulation for the government. I'm generally against regulation.
Mm-hmm.
However, one of the things that's definitely is essential is schools shouldn't be about making money. It should be more of like a not-for-profit type of institute.
So how do you fix that then? If there is no one person, no one authority telling you can't fucking do that, you're being an asshole. Your main goal is to protect them, because remember, the state serves the public.
Secondly, you're right. However, I don't want to say, hey, because some people do exceptional jobs,
mm-hmm.
and shoot, they're managing the whole entire campus or multiple campuses, and some of these people, maybe they're not. Some.
But how many? But it's not just some that they work with. You have to remember, a board of directors isn't just 3 people.
It's a bunch of people. It's a collaboration. Here's the thing. I don't think we need that many type of board or directors and all these type of people.
And so, how do you fix that?
Well, you
get fucking rid of them. And because right?
I don't think we need all these fucking people.
You don't. You fucking know.
Another thing that we need to talk about too. We should have. Why do we have fucking tenure? Why the fuck do we have tenure?
Why do you think I said that the state should run the schools? Because tenure no longer matters, right?
Well, tenure should be if you're a shitty ass fucking teacher, if you're shitty at your fucking job,
mm-hmm.
you shouldn't be fucking there. A student.
So that's one less salary you should have to pay, right?
Absolutely.
So where does that go?
To the students.
And who could make that happen?
Well, you're talking about
not the students.
The state.
The regulatory body, right?
But, my thing is pretty much this. I'm not after people's salary so much as I'm after the purposefulness to have people in debt in order for these schools to function, for these programs that don't matter, and enriching some.
And unfortunately, you have to take some jobs in order to make that happen.
So my thing is pretty much this. I'm a business guy. I'm always going to probably most likely I'm going to say, hey, you know what? I think businesses can always work. Just like example, like Walmart, for example. Okay, maybe a bad example. Who knows? But
it's fucking Walmart.
They have a huge freaking constituency. You know who that is? It's their stakeholders. It's people that own their stocks.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not happy, they're going to withdraw their money. They're going to be out a lot of money. Now that's probably they're a huge company, but they need to have that type of money to be able to sustain all their businesses around the world. Same thing with the students. Think of the students as a stakeholder, right? That's the way when you have a good management system, when you have good business happening, when you have good property coming in,
okay,
profiting where that money can be for resources, maybe supplies, maybe like some of the things you're talking about, living systems, living situations, stuff like that. Things are going to help the student succeed.
Yes. Then
that's where business comes into play, because my model is everything can be a business to some degree. If you in this case, so the business is going in the funds are going in the wrong area. We're having funds go to personnel rather than the students.
How do you deal with that? You have to get rid of them. You can't just lower their money amount.
Well, my solution is it would be really simple. Have accountability. Have a threshold. Now, I don't know the answer for that, but have a threshold of you obviously want to talk about.
Then in that case, all schools will fail.
No, all schools.
Yes, they do fail because you're not taking into account the curriculums that are there. If kids go into gender studies, if a handful of them go into gender studies, automatically the schools are going to be in trouble.
Well, schools are going to change their schools have an ability to take in and take out programs. And here's why I think my idea would work. Because if those people aren't able to get jobs with gender studies and minority studies, whatever it is, or some weird ass type of thing, right? So, then they're going to take those programs out. But
who holds them accountable?
Well, who holds them accountable? Well,
it's not going to be the students. Who's going to do it?
Well, they're gonna hold themselves accountable. I'll tell you why. Because of the fact that if they default on those loans, it's either that school's going to dissipate, right? Not going to be there anymore, or they're gonna have to turn themselves, or it's going to be bought out by somebody else.
All right. So let's, in your scenario,
sure.
What role does the state play?
Obviously, it has to have its own criteria. I think I see your point about across the board accreditation. That probably does make sense, right? It makes a lot of sense in my eyes. However, I don't know the background behind.
No, take the accreditation for me. Don't worry about that for now.
My role is this.
What I want to know, based on what you just said, right? Based on what you just said,
right?
Who holds the schools accountable? If the state has no role to play, if the state has nothing to do with the schools,
well, we can actually just have the financial institutions that hold them accountable, because all these schools, or federal government and the state. You know what? Everybody.
That's the state.
But I'm not just saying. I'm not saying that. The state government, the banks, everybody should.
But the banks aren't going to hold the schools accountable. They're going to hold the contractee. The contractee being the student.
But if we had some regulation, right? Well, this was my only instance for regulation. If we had that regulation catered, it could be on the federal level too. By the way, it doesn't have to be state.
But for this one, let's just use state for this one, because to make it more manageable.
All right. If you had that regulation catered towards, say, okay, the student owes $40,000.
Okay.
He can't find a job. 30% of your students, we'll just use 30. I don't know if this is the correct threshold.
Let's just 30%. Let's just use that. I don't think that's too high, honestly. And to be honest,
let's just say
a fourth of kids.
Let's just say it's like I don't know, maybe freaking.
That's it. Let's pretend let's just use 100%.
Let's say it's $500 million. Okay, of student debt. Okay, $500 million. Guess what? You guys haven't been treating your students properly. We're going to hold you accountable. That instead of those students owing that money, you're going to owe that money.
The bank doesn't care.
The bank doesn't care.
But the bank wants money.
But the bank's going to want. But the school, and some of those faculty members, by the way, too.
But here's the thing, though: who signs the contracts to get those loans? The schools or the students?
The students do.
So who are they going to come after for the money? Not the schools. They'll come after the student.
They could do.
Remember,
they could do contracts. Also, you can have a contract saying a co-sign with the school as well, so that could happen.
Yeah, but the school will pay off their shit, but they won't pay off the student because the student will have to pay off their shit.
A co-sign, we know what that means by definition, though. It means that they're responsible for the entire loan.
But here's what I'm getting at, though. The banks are going to come after the students, not the school.
If a school co-signed for them,
they're not going to do that, though. Not all the time. Well, most of the time, they make the student do it on its own because the student doesn't know. Because the school does not provide that information. But if they were made to provide that information
with regulation,
yes, you do. Unfortunately, schools aren't upfront with their shit because they act like a business. They shouldn't act like a business. They need to act like an institution. You know what I mean? And I separate the two of them. This is where I believe the state needs to do this. The state needs to hold them accountable. And why I don't like loans. I don't like when banks get involved with student loans. I don't like that. Now, that's a personal thing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And we don't have to disagree on that particular thing, but what we do have to, what I do believe is, if anybody should hold the school accountable, it's the person is the state, because they run the curriculum programs. If they run the curriculum programs from the high school level below, why shouldn't they do the higher education ones?
All right, I think you got me on that one. I think that makes a lot of sense.
You know what I mean? And my other thing too, like I don't like when the government is completely in charge of everything either. Believe me, I hate following rules just as much as the next guy, right? So I'm 100% in agreement with you. But my whole thing is this: at the end of the day, right? It's about the kid. And what I want my son to have, or my kids to have to fucking deal with the bank? Fuck no. No. Hell no.
My thing is pretty much about that.
I think
I don't mind if students get it and have some loans. I don't think they should have to worry about freaking $80,000 when they get out of college.
So here now that you mentioned
maybe
that,
like $10,000 maybe.
So here's my revision plan then.
Go ahead.
Here's my revision plan. Hopefully this makes both of us happy.
All right.
Okay. We allow them to take student loans.
Sure.
Okay. We'll allow them to take student loans, but I don't want them to use it for their educational purposes. Housing, basic food. Get them to work, build up their credit, pay it back.
Okay.
So, all right. Let me rephrase that to make it easier to.
And you're talking about just for the state of California.
Yes.
Okay.
Fuck everyone else. No, I'm kidding. But it's just because it's easier to paint a picture this way. So, new revision. Allow students to take student loans. Cap 10,000. No more. Okay? Because unless they can show that they can pay it back quicker. If they can pay it fast, then okay, increase the amount. Based on earning potential. So if you're working while you're going to college and stuff, and you're making a pretty decent wage, right? And you already know you're going to be making this wage, but you want some more, you want to take out some more money? Okay, then yeah, go ahead and do it. But not for the school, not for the fucking school. For expenses that you need, basic living expenses. Then yeah, use student loans for that. But to go to the fucking classroom just to sit there to hear an old guy talk for an hour? You know what I mean? But realistically, I think that would work. Personally, I think that would benefit the student and the banks. Plus, it would help build their credit.
Sure.
It would build credit. Which, as soon as they get out of college, right, they can start looking for apartments, right? Mm-hmm. They can start slowly adapting to their own personal, start building their lives, basically. So I feel like that would be one less thing that the government would have to step in for. You know what I mean? Then they can just focus on, okay, you know what? This motherfucker's not working. It's your fucking fault. You fucking suck.
Well, I mean, I think that's a nice revision. I just don't know if realistically, if the citizens of California would want to actually spend more money in taxes for institutions.
But they already are.
Right.
They would spend less.
And that would be the hard part to convince people, because if they see a new tax, here's what I would rather do with the existing funds that are available. Instead of building more schools, maybe focus towards education.
But that's what I said, though.
but
I said that.
It sounds like, though, in order to be able to have, because money has to go, a couple of ways. Basically, and this is what comes down to business, decrease costs,
okay,
or gain revenue from an entity. That's two ways.
Yep.
You're going to do it. That's how you have to lower expense from one aspect in order to increase another aspect. So
no, 100% I agree.
So here's the thing right here.
Okay.
One of the things, the reason why you have a lot of people against tuition free, is because it's not technically free, maybe for that particular individual. However, the tax rate for California, that would skyrocket.
Yep.
That would skyrocket exponentially. It would have billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Okay.
Extra fees.
Okay.
California's already taxed enough on everything else.
Yeah. So
the way it is right now,
yeah,
the banking institutions are there. Now, they do actually have the resources to be able to fund these students.
Okay.
However, it's a huge problem, because now we're seeing what's happening to these schools, and like your analogy is, business for profit schools, and that's kind of what we've been talking about. The cost of education is our initial theme of how it's a funnel, it's a funnel.
For me, it's the quality.
Money funnel. Yeah. Thank you, money funnel. For school administrators,
they drain everything. Yeah.
So here's if you were to cut some of these school administrators, give them away.
Yes.
I don't think we need somebody. In general, $450,000 does sound a lot. However, I don't know. I mean, fairness. I'm always trying to be fair. Sounds like a lot of money, but
dude, you need a check and balances. If you want something to succeed, you have to take the risk. That's all what business is.
Right.
High risk, high reward. Low risk, no reward, or least amount of reward. Unfortunately, people are going to have to lose their jobs for the majority to gain more.
Right. But as far as that,
and what do you do with the lost salaries for the jobs that you cut?
Give it to students. There you go. Well, anything else you want to add on this, Shane?
No, I think I've made myself pretty clear.
You have. You came up with. I think we both came up with some pretty good ideas.
Yeah, I think so.
I like a lot of the stuff that you said, and actually maybe lean more towards regulations, and I wasn't before this.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, dude, I don't like regulations either. But but in order to survive as a race or a people, you need laws, and you need people to be held accountable to things, and you need people to give back to the community. Maybe not through the public sense of like helping the homeless in the sense,
right?
But in the sense of giving back money for taxes. You know what I mean?
Right.
So to end everything, I hope that we were able to kind of entertain you.
Yes, very entertaining.
Because this conversation to me was probably my favorite comment.
You know what's kind of more funny too? This was originally going to be like lasting about like 15 minutes. It's way over that. So we want to really quickly end on this. If you want to reach out to us, go to thinkforfree02@gmail.com.
All lowercase.
Thinkforfree02@gmail.com or 02. If you have any questions, you can ask us there. And also our next topic, stay tuned. It's going to be about what we would do as president.
So
it's going to be a lot of fun.
To reiterate, if you guys have any comments at all, if you guys enjoy our back and forth, if you like what you heard, again, email us at thinkforfree02, all right, 02@gmail.com. And then stay tuned for our next episode. We don't know when, but you will know.
Thank you guys so much for listening to Free Think.
Yeah, remember, to think for free, you have to be a free thinker.